The first time I really understood how broken this family had become was when I heard Prince Harry say those words on television. He looked straight into the camera and said he wanted his father and his brother back. He said he wanted to be part of a family, not just an institution. It was honest and raw, and it broke my heart. But here's the thing. Even as he spoke those words, the palace walls were already closing in. What Harry didn't know then was that his final desperate plea, the one about his children's royal status and their safety, had already been rejected by his own father. The king had made his choice, and it wasn't his grandchildren. It has been 6 years since Harry and Meghan walked away from their royal duties. 6 years of headlines, interviews, books, and a family divide that has only grown wider with time. At first, it seemed like the couple had their new life completely figured out. They had a massive Netflix deal worth $100 million. They had a Spotify partnership worth $20 million. They had a beautiful home in California and 2 young children, Archie and Lilibet. But things changed as the children grew older. Harry started thinking about their future, about their connection to their British heritage, about their safety when they visited his homeland. And that's what drove him to deliver a tense new ultimatum to his father. The story traces back to a recent private meeting. Harry flew to the UK and sat down with King Charles for tea. That brief encounter instantly fueled rumors that Harry was looking for a way to bring Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet back into the royal fold. Maybe he wanted a smaller role, something part-time, something that would let him serve the crown while still keeping his Hollywood deals. But royal sources have completely dashed those hopes. The king is strictly upholding a golden rule created by the late Queen Elizabeth. That rule states that no royal can perform official duties if they are making money from private commercial deals on the side. It's a clear line. You are either all in or all out. There is no middle ground, and that means Harry would have to walk away from everything he has built in America. No Netflix, no Spotify, no book deals, just the crown. To make matters even more tense, sources claim this one-hour meeting was actually a calculated test by the king. He wanted to see if Harry would leak any private details to the press. Even though Harry's team insists his only focus is his father's health, the king wasn't taking any chances. Harry publicly defended his memoir, saying his conscience was clear and he just wanted to correct false narratives. But with the king refusing to bend the rules and Harry standing his ground, the bridge to family reconciliation seems officially burnt down. Here's the thing though, this whole situation is way more complicated than anyone realized. It turns out that Harry never actually wanted to cut ties with his family in the first place. 6 years ago, he had every hope of remaining an active part of royal life, but a massive make-or-break negotiation ended up forcing him out instead. The heavy tension inside the palace walls had been building for months before the big split, especially after Harry and Meghan took an official trip to Africa. That was the same emotional journey where Meghan opened up to a journalist and admitted she was absolutely not okay. She confessed she was deeply struggling as a new mother within the royal circle, living under an intense spotlight that never seemed to dim. When they got back to the UK, Harry knew they could not keep living this way, so he headed straight to the Sandringham estate for a major meeting to discuss their options. He was incredibly keen to find a peaceful way forward with his grandmother, Queen Elizabeth. Harry's big plan back then was to secure a half-in, half-out arrangement. He and Meghan would be entirely self-financing through private projects, but they would still show up to support the crown and undertake official duties whenever needed. It sounded like a modern compromise, but the palace establishment was not having it. The 3 top private secretaries on the estate immediately went into summit mode and drafted their own tough proposal. Instead of offering a helping hand, they gave Harry a blunt choice. He had to be either all in or all out. This cold refusal to compromise was a bitter pill to swallow, and it is the exact reason why the Sussexes chose to spend Christmas overseas that year instead of joining the family holiday. Harry went back to Canada feeling completely forced out against his will, knowing his dream of a modern royal role was dead. By June 2020, the couple officially packed up their lives and moved to California to start completely fresh with young Prince Archie. A year later, their daughter, Princess Lilibet, was born in America. In their initial departure statement, Harry and Meghan shared that this choice came after many months of internal discussion. Queen Elizabeth publicly responded with a sweet and gentle statement, saying they would always be valued family members. But despite those kind words, the real consequences of their exit became obvious very quickly. The palace took swift action to erase their footprint. After Harry published his memoir, the couple was requested to completely pack up and vacate their UK home at Frogmore Cottage, leaving them without a permanent base in Britain. Since stepping down, Harry has only returned to his native country a handful of times, and the children have only visited his homeland once. What started as a desperate search for safety and a fair middle ground has created a permanent, heartbreaking divide today. But that long separation may finally be coming to an end. After years of staying away from British soil, the family is getting ready to cross the ocean for a reunion that has the entire world watching. Meghan and Harry are officially preparing to bring their family back to the United Kingdom for the very first time in 4 years. 7-year-old Archie and 5-year-old Lilibet are fully expected to join their parents on this high-profile journey next month in July. This highly anticipated trip has actually been in the works for a very long time. Prince Harry is scheduled to attend official events marking the crucial one-year countdown to the 2027 Invictus Games, which will be hosted in Birmingham from July 10th to July 17th. The interesting timing of this family vacation has drawn massive attention to Althorp House, the historic ancestral estate of Princess Diana, located in West Northamptonshire. The sprawling estate sits just about an hour away from Birmingham, making it a perfectly logical base for the family during their visit. What has really sent the rumor mill into overdrive is a brand new notice on the estate's official website. It states that the property will be completely closed to public visitors next month on July 10th and July 11th. This sudden closure has sparked widespread speculation that Harry and his family could be planning a private visit or even a full stay at the Spencer family home. Althorp House is also the sacred place where Princess Diana was laid to rest. And since the family's trip happens to fall shortly after the late princess's July 1st birthday, it would be an incredibly meaningful moment for Harry, Meghan, and their young children. Little Lilibet even carries her grandmother's legacy with her everywhere she goes, as her official middle name was chosen in honor of Diana. Harry has a very close relationship with his uncle Charles Spencer, and he has safely stayed at Althorp House during previous trips to the UK, including a quiet stay in August 2024 when he returned to attend the funeral of Lord Robert Fellows. While Althorp House looks like a very strong possibility, it is not the only option on the table. King Charles has actually stepped forward and offered his younger son and the family accommodation on a royal estate for the duration of their visit. However, palace insiders reveal that absolutely no response has been received to the king's offer so far. The monarch has made similar gestures of hospitality in the past, including offering Harry a place to stay at Buckingham Palace during previous solo trips, which the Duke ultimately chose to decline. Even if Harry and Meghan do decide to accept the king's offer, there is a major catch. No additional security arrangements have been offered with the housing. The palace is quick to point out that decisions regarding protective security are handled strictly by the Home Office and a special committee, meaning the king does not have the personal power to grant police protection. Ever since the Duke and Duchess of Sussex made the choice to step back from their senior royal roles back in 2020, they lost their taxpayer-funded police protection. This is a tough decision that Harry has repeatedly challenged in the London courts. He deeply worries about the physical safety of his wife and kids whenever they are on British soil. As of right now, there are absolutely no confirmed plans for a formal reunion between Harry and his father during this upcoming July visit. Despite the lack of an official schedule, the father and son have managed to meet up during past trips. Most recently, they reunited at the King's London residence on September 10, 2025, while Harry was in town for the Wellchild Awards and other Invictus Games events. That private emotional meeting lasted for about 55 minutes and marked their very first face-to-face conversation in 19 long months. It is incredibly rare for the entire family to travel across the ocean together. Harry and Meghan have only returned to the UK with their children once since their move, which was back in June 2022, for the late Queen Elizabeth's historic Platinum Jubilee festivities. Even during that famous trip, young Archie and Lilibet were kept entirely out of the spotlight and did not participate in any public events. The Duke and Duchess were also visiting England for a quick series of charity events when Queen Elizabeth passed away in September 2022, prompting them to extend their stay to attend her state funeral and the surrounding memorial services. The battle over security remains the single biggest hurdle to true family healing, and Harry has been very vocal about his fears. In an emotional statement delivered to the High Court in London during a December 2023 hearing, Prince Harry explained that he desperately needs top-tier security for his two children to truly feel at home in his native land. He stated that the United Kingdom is his home and remains central to the heritage of his children, and he wants them to feel just as comfortable there as they do in their current home in the United States. He explicitly told the court that a real homecoming simply cannot happen if there is no possibility to keep his family safe on British soil. Thankfully, the icy tensions between the two sides have seemed to thaw just a little bit in recent months following their brief autumn meeting. Prince Harry previously opened up about his true feelings, confessing that he would absolutely love a total reconciliation with his family. He explained that there is simply no point in continuing to fight anymore because life is precious. He softly referenced his father's cancer diagnosis that was shared with the world in 2024. Harry noted that while the king has struggled to speak with him due to the ongoing legal battle over security, it would be wonderful to finally reconcile. A peaceful stay at Althorpe House might be exactly what the couple needs to find comfort, as the estate holds beautiful personal memories for them. In his memoir, Harry wrote movingly about rowing Meghan out to visit his mother's grave site for the very first time back in 2022, to mark the 25th anniversary of her passing. The late princess is buried on a beautiful, quiet island at the center of an ornamental lake within the gardens. Harry recalled feeling a wave of emotion as he placed flowers on the grave and asked his mother for guidance and clarity before leaving Meghan alone to have her own quiet moment. When he walked back, he found Meghan kneeling with her eyes shut and her palms pressed flat against the stone, praying for that exact same clarity and guidance. But finding that clarity inside the royal circle proved impossible, especially when it came to building bridges with the women already established within the palace walls. While the world desperately hoped that Meghan and her new sister-in-law would form an unbreakable bond, the reality behind closed doors was a completely different story. The complicated rift between Prince Harry and his family has been one of the most heavily discussed topics over the last few years. But there is one specific dynamic that has captured just as much attention, and that is the tense, unraveling relationship between Meghan Markle and Kate Middleton. On paper, it really seemed like they should have been the ultimate allies. They were the exact same age, and they were both brought into the intense spotlight of the royal family from relatively normal middle-class backgrounds. Yet, despite being in nearly identical positions, the two women never seemed to strike up a genuine friendship. Instead, a deeply frustrating narrative of a massive feud quickly became the main focus of global tabloids. The endless rumors finally came to a massive head during Meghan and Harry's explosive television interview with Oprah Winfrey. During that broadcast, Meghan directly accused the Princess of Wales of making her cry during the stressful wedding preparations, despite the fact that months of media headlines had reported the exact opposite story. In that same interview, Meghan attempted to smooth things over by revealing that Kate had later owned up to the mistake, apologized, and even sent flowers. However, royal sources claim that the underlying tensions actually went far deeper than a simple disagreement about a dress. The two women simply had very little in common from the very beginning. Even though they worked closely together on official duties, they never quite took a liking to each other. For Meghan, who found much of her early time as a working royal to be a deeply lonely and isolating experience, there was an initial hope that Kate would be someone she could lean on. She hoped for an encouraging word or a bit of sisterly support during her lowest points. After all, they were once both outsiders who had been brought into the ancient House of Windsor to live unimaginably different lives. But sources say Kate was completely uninterested in forming that kind of close bond with Meghan. Some described Kate as someone who can be incredibly cold if she does not like a person. While this unbridgeable gap grew between the two women, it also completely destroyed the affectionate bond that Harry and Kate once shared. Long before Meghan entered the picture, Kate was incredibly close to Harry. He used to fondly describe her as the sister he never had and always wanted. In his memoir, he wrote about how much he loved making Kate laugh. He looked forward to the day he would find a serious girlfriend so that the four of them could all hang out and laugh together. Sadly, those warm days are entirely gone. Sources say that while Kate will always look back fondly on those sweet past moments, she feels there is absolutely no way she could ever trust Harry or Meghan again after all of their tell-all television interviews. The choice Harry and Meghan made to step back from working royal life and pack up for California only made the tension worse. Their sudden departure left a massive working void behind, putting huge pressure on William and Kate to pick up the slack and cover more official duties, which understandably fueled the resentment. In their Netflix documentary series, Meghan spoke very candidly about how she was totally unprepared for the rigid realities of royal life. She recalled the very first time William and Kate came over to their home for dinner, remembering that she was wearing ripped jeans and was completely barefoot. She explained that she has always been a big hugger, but she did not realize at the time that such casual physical warmth is actually very jarring for many British people. From that moment on, Meghan explained that she started to understand very quickly that the strict formality on the outside of the royal family carried all the way through to the inside. She initially believed that the intense etiquette rules were just for the public, a forward-facing way of being that they could turn off the second they closed the doors to relax. But she was incredibly surprised to find out that the formality never stops, even behind closed doors. Initially, Kate believed that the arguments between William and Harry were just rooted in typical immaturity, stubbornness, and the natural tensions of the heir and spare dynamic. She figured it was inevitable that Harry would eventually want more from his role than just being a minor player. However, the real turning point that set the couples on entirely different paths was Harry and Meghan's alleged attitude towards the palace staff. William and Kate cared deeply about their staff. So when bullying accusations were made against Meghan during her time as a senior royal, it created an unforgivable rift. Buckingham Palace even launched a formal investigation into the claims. While Meghan's lawyers firmly denied the accusations, calling them a calculated smear campaign, the findings of the review were never made public. Since leaving that chaotic royal life behind, the Sussexes have shifted their focus to their HRH Foundation and various media projects. But the damage to the family is completely done. The so-called Fab Four were last seen together at Queen Elizabeth's funeral in 2022, and today they live thousands of miles apart, completely out of touch. But while the rift between the sisters-in-law appears completely permanent, an even greater storm is brewing between the brothers. The royal family is bracing for a massive storm next month, and the latest updates reveal a huge divide that might never be fixed. While Prince Harry and Meghan are getting ready to bring their family back to the UK, Prince William has made it completely clear that he will not be seeing his brother at all. In fact, relations between the two brothers have hit an all-time low. King Charles is reportedly clearing his busy schedule so he can finally see his grandchildren, whom he has not seen in 4 long years. The king is so eager for this reunion that he has reportedly offered to give the Sussexes royal housing and even fund the family's security arrangements out of his own pocket. But while the king is trying to make peace, his generous gestures are causing serious friction with his eldest son. Sources close to Prince William say that he is deeply irritated by the fact that the king is bending over backwards just to make Harry's trip happen. Even though palace aides are trying to deny any official fallout, everyone knows that William has made his strict feelings about a reconciliation very clear to his father. People who know the family well explain that William is known to hold a grudge. And more than that, he simply cannot forgive his brother for the immense pain Harry has put the family through over the last few years. William firmly believes that Harry crossed a major line when he spoke out in that interview with Oprah and when he released his tell-all book. In that autobiography, Harry shared very intimate, private details about his and Meghan's rocky relationship with Kate. For William, protecting his wife comes first, and those public attacks are something he is just not ready to look past. Even though Harry's main reason for visiting is to promote the upcoming Invictus Games, the real story here is the family reunion. Sources have confirmed that Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet will definitely be traveling alongside him. Harry is using this big summer trip as a special opportunity to introduce his children to both sides of his family. He does not just want them to see the Windsors, but he also wants them to spend quality time with the Spencers. This trip has actually been planned for quite some time. Insiders say that Harry has been incredibly keen to have his kids come over to the UK for a long time, and there has been a deep feeling of sadness around him because he has not been able to bring them over sooner. He has even told his close friends that he cannot wait to touch down in his homeland with his family. But despite Harry's excitement and his repeated attempts to make contact, there will be absolutely no olive branch meeting with William and Kate. William will not be taking his calls, and sources suspect that the Prince of Wales will actually make sure he is miles away when Harry visits, just to completely avoid any awkward encounters. William is simply not in the mood for a reconciliation right now, and his father's constant efforts to welcome Harry back into the fold are only making him more upset. This entire situation shows how differently the king and the future king look at this ongoing family drama. A close family friend explained that William is known to hold a strong grudge, whereas King Charles just wants to have peace in his life. The two men are coming to this from completely different perspectives. Charles believes that life is short and that a father must forgive his children and move on, especially with his ongoing health battles. William, however, refuses to do that. He feels his father is making a massive mistake by welcoming Harry back so easily after everything that happened. He is standing his ground firmly, and it looks like he might never change his mind, leaving the two royal brothers completely divided as the family arrival date creeps closer.